Yes. So you are able to see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you remember, so last week, you see, we have closed our welding. That is essentially the simple connections, that the lap and butt joint kind of a thing. So then fillet weld, butt weld, we have seen all those things. So now we move to tension members, which is the simplest, or the starting thing in our design itself. Okay. So we have defined what is meant by tension member, and we have seen, and we have also mentioned that nowadays, if you see, right, most of the tension members, if you see trusses and others, so they will be using these type of connections. Angle sections are widely used. In the olden days, flats are there, but now angle sections they are using. Of course, apart from that, they are using even I sections and others also they are there. Okay. So the first thing, say, whenever you have any tension member, first thing or even the last thing also, so you have to check their slenderness ratios also. Okay. So like if you have a tension member where there is a reversal of stresses happens, like, if it is a bridge, and then, if you expect that tension may become compression, compression may become, reversal. So what should be the slenderness ratios? Okay. So this also, and if it is a pure tension, say only tension means, you can go up to 400 is the limit itself. So there are, the code gives the guideline. So what generally one does in design is they do the design. Okay. In the end, they check whether, they have met this slenderness thing or not. Okay. So this is a check which you have to do. Okay. At the end of the design, or, we can see. Okay. Then we have seen modes of failure also. So in tension member, there are three we have said. One is a cross section yielding. Okay, so this is one thing. Then we have net section rupture. Then the block shear, the rupture itself. So three types are there. So the code also gives, so three formulas actually. How to estimate in gross, then net section, then block shear. So you calculate whichever is the lowest one. So that is the design strength of your tension member. So this also I showed you in the last class. So, so the gross yielding, say, okay, so what happens, why do we, this gross yielding, what was the condition, what is the limit state here? Any of you remember what is the limit state? Why do we, the gross, say this portion only is, fy only is very important for us. What happens? See, I told you, right? The most important, what is the criteria here? Although, the FU is ultimate stress is point here, but we, no, excellent. Service, follow, very good. Okay, so serviceability. So the things becomes non-functional after FY. So that's why we are limiting everything to FY itself. So this comes not strength, but as a serviceability requirement. Okay, so this is a very important thing. Why do we use FY in this one? Why do we use FU in net section rupture itself? Okay, so this is a formula given in the code. It's simple formula. Load into load by area, is a stress. So sigma is equal to that P by A. So simply AG into Fy, and of course we have a factor of safety itself. So this we compute, and AG is the gross area of the cross section. No holes, nothing, where no hole, nothing. So you do this calculations also. Then another type of failure also we said was plate with a hole. So this is also very, very important. So when you are having a plate with a hole, and then you draw the stress strain curve, say sigma versus epsilon. So the behavior of the same steel section, which is highly ductile and which is this one, entirely, you will see a different kind of, the phenomenon. So as already we said, right? So here 3 times P by, and slowly the stresses gets redistributed among themselves, and the whole section plastifies, and suddenly you will see this type of a rupture. So you can see this elongation and others, is not much, the ductility or something when you compare with a plate with no hole and with the hole itself. Okay, so that's why, we use, when holes are there, say we go up to FU, that is the ultimate thing. But to be on the safe side, so FU means, it is the ultimate thing. So code uses, 0.9. So this is like a another factor of safety which we used in this code this itself. Okay, and so here we use FU. So this, be careful. So there we use FY, here we use FU, because that is serviceability. Here it is anyway as per strength itself. And this 0.9 is essentially for this one, like, instead of all the points are coming to FU, since it doesn't have any unreserved strength, we use this point. This is also another the factor of safety itself. So these two formulas are from rupture, this one, then this itself. And I also showed you, this net section rupture failures also. Videos are also there in YouTube. And if you see here, generally whenever there is a hole, right, so it ruptures along this section or along this section. Both the sides, net cross section area is same. So whichever where the load or the connection things are there, so that automatically gives up. So I have shown one more important thing was this punched holes generally. Okay, so this is also very important thing, and our code also gives you. So generally, there are two types of drilling. Put a hole, punching or drilling. Drilling is fine, but punching means sudden thing will be there. So here, the slightly here, say you will see the significant deformation. Like we will come to this punched holes today. Okay, so this is our net area. How to calculate the net area? So this is a very easy when you are having like this type of chain bolting, say. But when you are having staggered, we have a problems here. So the code also what says is so this is a net area. If it is a staggered connection, so you have to add extra. So whose formula is this? P square by 4G. Last class I told you, right? What is this formula is based on which theory? It is essentially for staggered bolting. P square by 4G.
Cochrane's formula.
Cochrane's formula. And what is the theory? Failure theory? No. Von Mises, we remember, we told von Mises was one which is widely used everywhere. Okay. This the formula came from which theory?
Maximum shear stress theory.
Maximum shear stress theory. Excellent. Okay. So maximum shear stress is different. Okay. So that goes by Mohr circle, sigma 1, principal stresses and others. So these are some of the failures. So when you have staggered bolting, say, so you can have failures along inclined planes also. Okay. So when inclined planes, say, like this, if you have, so we discussed it last class. If you uniaxial tension, say, so if it is this type of a plane, only tension will be there. But if it is inclined, say, at some angle, then you have shear as well as this, and both will be there. And then you see that maximum shear stress theory comes, and then you can't use that B minus N into DH because of these things. Say, so this formula came into picture. So it was done, I think, 1922, but still everybody uses that formula. You can see. So these dotted lines are from the formula basically. Okay, and this gives the formula. Somebody has done some experiments and they try to check how good is that formula set. In many cases, it agrees with the this. There are some cases where formula gives like this, but it happens like this also. One or two deviations are there. But in a overall, this formula is more conservative kind of a thing. Okay, so you can see variety of the failure patterns when you have staggered bolting. Chain bolting means you will not see anything great. Only one thing gets sheared off. Rupture happens, and which sections like in chain boltings it can happen here or it can happen here. Right? The bolts, the end bolts, say they will be under high stress. Middle bolt will be under this one. So whichever end bolts, you will see these type of failures itself. So this also I showed you in the last class to show that staggering is a big issue. Okay. So whenever you are having a staggering sections, say, so the problem is, say chain bolting, say, so it will fail along this section, end bolts essentially. Okay. This bolt or this bolt. So that is very easy to calculate, and the net areas is same at all these sections itself. So simply B minus N times DH into T itself. But if you have staggered bolting, you have a problem. It can fail in n number of ways. It can fail like this, okay, along a only one hole, B minus N times D into T, or it can fail like this also, okay, or it can fail like this, like this, like this also. So many, or it can fail like this, then it can come like this also. So many failure patterns you have to check actual. Okay. So for staggered things, so you have to add this thing. So the number of holes are increasing. Generally, this component decreases because n into d times h. But if it is staggered, say you have to add some extra terms actually, okay, which comes from the pitch and gauge distance and others here. So you have to calculate this. All kinds of failure paths you have to verify, and then you have to decide which is the best failure path itself. So this is like, for example, say here. So it can fail like this. You followed. So this is one failure pattern at the whole, or it can fail, like this, like this, like this also, or it can fail in a zigzag pattern also, like this also you can expect is failures. So you have to do all kinds of, the failure paths have to be checked, and you have to do the which is the lowest say that you should use in that formula. So that gives you the design strength of your connection itself. So here, can you tell me what is the area of one, this section? This section 1, what is the area here, net area? This formula say. So what is the net area along 1, 1? This section.
B minus BH into T.
B minus D into T. Fine. Now here, see how many holes are now here. What is the formula? How many holes you have to subtract?
B minus 4dx.
4dh into T. Plus how many you have to add?
2. 2 you have.
1. Then this section. Okay. And now for this pattern, it is much more the complex. This.
You have to subtract 5 holes and add 5 times.
1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, so this is how it turns out to be 4 times here, 2 times. So this you have to calculate. I think in the last week tutorial, I think you would have done these problems also. So the problem is, so when you are having staggered sections, although they are efficient, you can calculate also. But the problem is, the failures can be, you may have to do lot of calculations, lot of failure paths you have to verify, and then you should use the lowest area in calculating the design strength for a staggered connection. So there is a main issue with for staggered. So now another most important thing is if I have angle sections like this. Okay, so generally we use angle sections, I told you, right, as a tension member. So let us say, these angle sections, it has been connected to a tension member. So this leg is also connected, this leg is also connected basically. So now how do you find out the net tensile, the rupture or whatever that area say for this type of a cross section? So this also is a big issue. So what our code recommends are, it has been observed and it matches with the experiments also. What they say is whenever you say angle section, both the legs are connected. So this case is valid for both the, legs are connected. If one leg is not connected, say, then that goes separate, we will see that one, the shear lag you have to take into care. So both the legs are connected, say, okay, for an angle section. So the code, what it says is, you can fold this into a plate kind of a thing. Fold into a plate. Now, so this entire thing says, so this portion has been folded, into a plate kind of a thing. So it looks, like this. So if a GB, GF, all these things anyway straightforward, all these numbers itself. GA is a gauge distance in this direction. GB is, this is also like a gauge from this end to this end. GF is the distance between these two holes itself. So you fold it into a plate. So now you will get new gauge distances. So GF, this is going to remain same actually. Okay, because and if it is a staggered bolting, so GF remains same. Now you will have a new gauge distance G2. That is the distance between this and this itself after folding it into a plate. So this is G2 say. So you calculate this as GB. Then we have this GA minus the thickness. So this thickness has to be subtracted because you have 2 times or something. This thickness comes into picture. So now the net area say for this problem will be here also. You have to do several paths itself. See, like one path is like this. Another path may be like this, and another path maybe you followed it like this. So several paths you have to do. So now you can use the same the formula. So now when it is an angle section, both the legs are connected, say, so you just fold it into a plate and then you calculate a new gauge distance from this edge to this edge, say this is a new thing, and then you analyze as whatever the same you see the format itself, like the previous problem itself. So this problem anyway, you would have solved in last tutorial. So you can see. So for chain bolting, it is straightforward, no issues. But this one say, so you have to do this, you have to do all kinds of patterns itself. So now this is also one problem, so where you have an angle section, so which is 125 by 75 by 6. So these are the details of the angle section. Both the legs are connected, say. So now we have to calculate, this net area. Okay, so now just I'm illustrating here. So it is very easy and it is a very straightforward kind of a thing itself. Okay, so now you have to find out the new gauge distance. So this to this you know already 55. Okay, so now from here to here, so that is this thing. So this has to be folded into a plate. So you will have a new the gauge distance. So this G star say G whatever this one. So you have you see G1 plus G2 minus T. So the original things are 45. Then 40 because thickness is coming twice or this here also you have this issue, so this has to be subtracted. So minus 6 mm is the thickness of our angle section, so that this thing turns out to be you see 79 the mm. Okay, so this is a new gauge distance. So now you have to calculate say, so here I think the bolt hole is 20 mm and other things have been given. So the hole diameter will be, if it is a standard hole say, so 22 mm will be the standard this one. So now you have to calculate the net area. Okay, so now the same formula we use here. So now here it can fail in variety of cases. See, one is AC, so this is a failure pattern. So for failure pattern AC, what is the area? And then gross area of this section. So the area of this angle sections, where do you get area? How do you find out area of these angle sections? No. The gross area. Where do you get this? From the steel table. So already steel tables all of you are having. You just go to that one, 125 by 75. This is the unequal legs. So you will automatically get the gross area. I think gross area is 1170 it seems. Okay, for this section. So the net area says, so if it is a failure path AC, so this turns out to be, so 1170. So two holes are there, A and C. So 2 times the diameter of the hole. So 22 into 6 you have. Okay, that is the thickness. So this already 6 is already there. Okay, B minus B into T itself is 1170. So this turns out to be some 906 mm square. Okay, now we have to, but since it is a staggered bolting say, so you have to do all kinds of calculations. So if you do A, B, C, this section. Okay, so now what will be the area? So you will be having 1170 anyway will be there. So now how many holes are there?
3 holes.
So 3 into 22 into 6. Now what you have to add?
Plus 50
How many
squared
times
by
you have to add? How many times you have to add?
2 times. But both are different values.
That is good. Okay, so because one is, what is the difference between them? P square by 4G, that formula. So which one is changing here? Say P square by 4G. What is changing?
G is changing.
G is changed because now the new G 79 has to come into picture. So it's a straightforward only. So you add some 50 square by 4 into 55 is the first one, into 6, that is the thickness, plus we have 50 square say by 4 into because 50 is the thing given, 79, okay, into 6. So finally this turns out to be 889.65 mm square. Okay, this is the area. Now you tell me, so this angle section is going to fail in which failure path? Which failure? ABC. So that failure path is like this. Of course, here I have done only 2 paths. Okay, but if you are a good engineer, so what you should do?
Multiple paths.
All different paths you have to do several calculations, and whichever is the lowest say, that is our failure pattern. So if you want to find out design strength of this angle section, the net rupture strength, you should use this area. So that 0.9 AN FU by that gamma, right? So this comes into picture itself. So this is how you can calculate you see for an angle section. So angle section, if it is connected on both the sides, say, it is very straightforward. You just fold it into a plate. You find out the new gauge distance, just adding those two minus your thickness of the thing, and then you do as usual as your calculations. Okay, so there is no great difference between this and ordinary flat set. So now, one more small thing given in our code is, the modified net area. So this is a very important thing. So the code gives the effective net area, that is, a b minus dh into t plus ps square by 4g. But, if you see the international codes, such as British codes or American codes or Euro codes, they use one more term, that is what they call as, effective net area they use. Okay. And then they define this effective net area is this expression, that is b minus n times d plus ps square by 4g, that multiplied by thickness itself. So they say you have to multiply this by 4 factors they give, k1, k2, k3, and then 4 factors have been given up. Now k1 is what they call as, the ductility, the factor itself. Ductility factor is anyway straightforward. So like if the steel has a very good ductility, say, so then its strength will be more. If the steel, whatever steel you are using, if it has less ductility, like that high carbon steels or whatever we discussed, so your ductility factor may be less or something like that. Okay, but our IS code say, in our Indian IS 800, if you see, so this is taken as 1. So they don't consider this in our IS code. Ductility, we are having mild steel, so they don't use this ductility factor in our code sets. Now another thing is K2 say. So this is what they call as a hole forming, the factor. Another factor also is there. So this hole forming factor is, as already I told you, we have two things: the holes, how they do punching, then we have drilling the holes. Now what happens is when you punch the holes, I already told you. So this, you would have seen punching also, even in YouTube videos are there, how they punch these holes in metals itself. So they do machine, sudden thing will be there. So what happens is the nearby these holes, this entire region basically. So during punching, it goes into, significant deformation or plastic, or, it happens. But if you are drilling the hole, you will not see these type of problems itself. So what the international code says is, if you have done you followed it punching holes, they say that the net area has to be reduced actually. So this is a reduction factor they say. And reduction factor is somewhere around 0.85 or something like this, so this has to be used, international codes use. But in our IS code, we don't do, this 0.85, you see the business. What our code says is, now can you see here, suppose if this is a hole, say, so this is the diameter of the hole, if it is D, okay. So diameter of the bolt, if it is D, say, then the diameter of the hole will be, so D plus, you have seen it, standard hole, that slotted holes and other things are there. So already we are giving some clearances for this holes itself. Now what happens is, when you are having a punched hole, say, what is the extra thing you have to do? So our IS code says is, this portion anyway is getting damaged, right, in here this itself. So code says is, whatever is the diameter of the holes which you calculate from the previous thing, you add extra 2 mm itself. Okay, so this is a new diameter of the hole. So already diameter of the hole means diameter of the bolt plus we have some standard size, oversized, like that we are adding 2 mm, 4 mm, depending on the diameter of the bolt, or long slotted or short slotted hole. So our code says, for punched holes, you add 2 mm extra. So which means, so the diameter of the hole physically is this much only, but in reality you are using, this is my diameter of the hole itself. So for punched holes, so that all the diameters of the holes have to be increased by 2 mm. So that is a criteria. Why we have to increase? The reason is, punching, say, the nearby this hole, the material gets excessive deformation, and it will not carry any add strength or something like that, this one. So this we do to in the code sets. International code, they use my reduction factor. IS code gives, simply it says 2 mm, you just increase the diameter of the hole, which is very simple for the practice designers to say. So 2H you have to use, and then you solve the same problem. So this is one more important thing. Then another factor, say, which of course our IS code doesn't use, but in international code they use this geometry factor also. So this geometry factor, say, it depends on the gauge distance, how much you have provided. Suppose if the holes are far away from each other, what happens at the connection? Say I have put one bolt here and another bolt far away actually. Now what happens? What is the problem we saw long back? If the distance is very, very long, say, now what happens?
We need tacking because
No, tacking is fine. Tacking is fine. I'm asking you, like whenever I'm having this 2 bolts, to say, what is the problem? Distance is too long. The gauge distance is very high. Now what happens?
buckling might happen.
So what type of buckling it is? What type of buckling it is? Local buckling will happen basically. Okay. So now so in the courts, the international courts say, so they do reduction for this also, the geometry factor also they use, but our IS code we don't use that one. So this is taken as 1 itself. So we it is not there in our code. So K3 is taken as 1. K1 also is taken as 1 in our IS code. So we don't consider these two in the code itself. So K1 is gone. So K3 is also gone. So we have K2. K2 is also 1 only in our IS code. Okay, because in our IS code say instead of putting 0.85 times, what people are doing is the K2 don't take it as 1, but diameter of the hole you increase by 2 mm. So K1, K2, K3 all are taken as unity in our IS code. Now we have only one factor, that is a K4, which is taken in our IS code also. So this factor is known as the shear lag basically. Okay, so which is a very important in our the steel design, essentially tension members. So shear lag factor we say, but in our code, whatever, if you see the formula say they write as instead of calling as a K4 into AN say, because anyway K1, K2, K3 has been taken into 1. So if you write K4 say, then people will ask what is K2, what is K3, and this one. So code says simply alpha times AN. So this is how our code says. So this alpha anyway is same as K4. It is nothing but the shear lag. So this is a very important thing in our practical things. Okay, so like you can see this figure. So suppose this happens if I have angle section say. Okay, I have an angle section we have, and this angle section basically it is connected, only one leg is connected, another leg is not connected. Now, another leg it is not connected, and now what happens now? So if it is not connected, so load transfer it happens only near this connection say is not connected to any other section. You follow, right? So it looks just like this itself. So what happens is, so here how the load gets transferred, this is a tension member, so this whole thing is a tension, this is also tension, but how load is getting transferred here now? How this tension is getting transferred from the gusset plate to your angle section? Now, how it is getting transferred? Through
bolt shear
through
or
bolts
bolt.
only, through bolts only, but what type of stresses? Although it is a tensile stress, okay, so how it is getting transferred? So it is all these bolts are also tension, or what is happening?
Shear.
Shear, excellent. Okay, so although we have a tensile stresses here, but these tensile stresses near the connections, they are getting transferred to your angle sections through as a shear stresses only. And now the problem what happens is the shear stresses, when it is getting transferred say, they are not getting transferred uniformly, because one leg is connected, other leg you have left just like that. So this portion say, so this portion approximately this is ineffective. So here the stresses are there is no stress, or you followed, right? So there is nothing here. So this portion say, so this one we call as is the shear lag or something, or here the stresses are very high in this region, but whereas in this region say the stresses are very lower in this shaded portion or whatever here. So that means you see the stresses here, they are lagging behind this portion basically. So that we call as, that is how the name came. Okay, shear lag. So generally we are designing a tension member. So tension member means you should call as a tension lag or something like that. Why do we call a shear lag? Is because this problem happens only near the connections, and near the connections the load, although it is a tension, it is a transferring through shear only, these bolts and other things. And since you have not connected both the ends properly, no, not properly, so one leg only is connected, another leg is not connected. So this portion of the leg say it will the stresses will be small compared to this portion of the leg itself. So what they say is that since the shear stresses are lagging behind this the unconnected leg to the connected leg, near this connection portion, this word came up actually. Lag means all of right? So you are lagging behind say. So the shear is getting the stresses in this region is getting lagged, you see, below this one. So we call this as a shear lag. And sometimes this portion, so which is unconnected portion, so this portion we also call this as the we are outstanding leg. Okay, outstanding leg. So generally outstanding means, you know, we something different, but here in our steel, this one's outstanding means, you know, the leg which is not connected. So we call this as, you know, outstanding leg. Okay, and in this outstanding only we will have this shear leg pattern itself. So when you are having these type of problems, say, so the code, you know, you have to solve this problem in a different, you know, the fashion itself. So this is also I'm showing you one angle section here. You have done the connected through welding. So welding has been done on all the sides. So this side, then you know, this side also, you see the welding has been done. And now near the connection, say, see, as you go far away from the connection, so it is all tensile force only, this side and this side tension. As you move far away from the connection, say like this place at this edge here, now here what type of stresses will be there? So it is in tension. So you can see the stress distribution. So tension in this outstanding leg, tension in this, you know, this leg which is connected. Everywhere you will see when you go far away from the connection, you know, it will be uniform only. Okay, but when you are near the, you know, the connection, say, so the shear stresses, the stresses will not be, you know, uniform. So like for example, you know, the maximum stresses will be, you know, suppose if there is a welding, where will be the maximum stresses, are in bolting also. I'll see if the width of the plate is, you know, the more here. So the width is like this plate. So here also, you know, this side of the weld, this side of the weld, say, the stresses will be very high. But here you will be having, you see, non-uniform, you know, this type of thing. And whereas the unconnected legs, say, you with the stress distribution will not be here, you know, like this. And this portion basically, you know, stresses are lagging behind, we say. So this we call as is the shear lag itself. So now as you move far away from the plate, say, the things becomes, you know, more or less, you know, the uniform kind of a thing itself. But in your calculations, you know, like tensile stress means, you see, we use a P by A or whatever that formula. Okay, so that is valid only, you see, far away from the connections. Nearby, you know, this shear lag and other problems will be there. So you have to account for all those things in our, you know, the design. So this is also one more figure I am showing you, like to explain the shear lag. Okay, so this portion, whatever, you know, is not effective basically. Okay, because you know, the stresses will be, you know, not used, are very low here, but this happens only near the connections. But as you go far away from the connection, then the unconnected leg also, stresses will be there and it will be perfectly fine itself. So this effect, so this, you know, so our code, that K4, whatever I told you. Okay, so this is what we call as, you know, the shear lag factor. Because of this issue, you have to do this calculation. So our code gives, you know, the formula alpha times an. So this alpha 4 is basically what they call as, you know, the shear lag, the factor itself. So people, you know, they have done lot of experiments, and you know, they said it's a shear lag factor, say, that is a K4 or alpha, or this alpha. So generally people have done 1 minus some x square x bar by L, where x bar is the CG. Between gusset plate, the plate where the things are connected, to the CG of our angles and plate. So this is what the angle or whatever, it depends on the problem. Okay, so this is this one, and L is the connection length. So this is how this factor comes into picture, 1 minus x bar by, and this came from experiments. So people have done a lot of experiments, and then, you know, the shear lag factor, say. So like for example, if I have an angle section here, so this is my bolts. So this leg only is connected, this leg is not connected. Okay, so now this is a CG of the angle section is somewhere here, say. So this x bar is nothing but the distance between the gusset plate also has, from the gusset plate to its CG. Suppose if you are having this type of thing, say, okay, where these two angle sections are here, here also you have angle section, only these legs are, you know, joined here, these legs are not joined, say. So now if I want to find out for this one, so I have, you know, x bar. So this is nothing but, that is a distance between, you know, the plate and then CG plate. You have to do for double angle sections, and you know, for I sections also. So how to calculate, you know, this x bar. So you have an I section here. So here also, you know, so you have to do for this flange, this portion, this flange web portion, say. So you have to calculate x bar, and then, you know, 1 minus x bar by L. So this gives you, you followed it, this, you know, the shear lag width itself. So even in I section also, when it is in tension, So here what happens is, the bolts are connected only to web. So the flange, there is there is nothing in this flange itself. So now what happens is, so here when this is under the tension or something, say, so now what happens is, the load gets transferred to shear. So this load has to come from web to flange area, because web is connected, flange is open, say, near the connection. So the stress distribution will be a non-uniform kind of a thing. So this is what they call as the shear lag factor itself. So our code gives very simple. So code says, instead of doing 1 minus x bar by L. So this formula you will see in international codes, American code, British code, or some other place, they write as 1 minus x bar by L, and you have to calculate. But in India, to simplify the designers, okay, so because the designer, the code has to be very simple. Even a small diploma or whatever, say, graduate should be able to do this one. So our code gives a simple formula, that is alpha times the AN. And here one more thing is, suppose if I want to make K4 the shear lag factor, say, what is the maximum value it can go? Maximum, the maximum is, if both the legs are connected, it is 1 only. So if I want to make this more close to 1, say, so I have to play with these 2 numbers actually. Okay, so what happens, x bar, if it is very small, so what happens to this K4? See, x bar, if it is very small, x bar is nothing but the distance between the plate and then your angle section CG. So if x bar is very small, say, what happens? Or what is the physically meaning of this one? So see this here. So this is my x bar. So this is x bar from here to here. So if x bar is very close to 0, so what does it tells you? So this is my x bar. You can see here. So what does it tells you? If x bar is very small, so what happens? Your CG of your angle section and plates, so what happens?
Coincides.
They coincide. So then you follow, right? So that means because CG of your angle section is coinciding with the plates, that means the unconnected leg is, you followed, right? So more or less same. Then the shear lag becomes, there is no shear lag, it automatically goes to 1. That is how it. Or one way to make it 1 is, one is decreasing x, increase this x bar is this one. Other one is increasing this connection length also. So the connection length, if it is more, say, then also this you follow, right? It is inversely proportional to decrease the shear lag. So the code gives like this, alpha times n. And now if the number of bolts is less than 2, say, it is a 0.6. If it is more than 4, say, it is a 0.8. Why it is increasing? As you increase the number of bolts. What is the shear lag formula? 1 minus x bar by L. Okay, so x bar anyway, you don't touch it, x bar. Now what happens when you're increasing the number of bolts?
L increases.
Connection length increases actually. So what happens when connection length increases? So automatically your alpha should, so this portion should reduce. So if it is reducing, so 1 minus that portion, if it is reducing, that's why the number increases actually. Okay, so our code, you can indirectly say that this x bar, say, okay, we are not this one. So so the connection length, if it is increasing, the shear lag, whatever this alpha, say, that also increases. So this is one extra thing which you may have to do in the code. You can see our IS 800. So when you see this design of tension members, they clearly mention. So the coefficient K4 is the same as alpha. So for preliminary sizing of the section, they use this formula. And if the connection length is more, means number of bolts is more. So obviously, this factor turns out to be 0.8 or something like that. No. And the code also gives you, when you are having for angle sections, okay, one side is, one leg is connected, another leg is not connected, say, you should use this the new formula. It is not that 0.9 into AN into FC by gamma M1, but you have to do this formula has to be used here. And this formula has been developed in our lab only, our IIT Madras lab, our structures lab only. In the code, that formula, whatever everybody is using, It came from our structures lab. One PhD student, they have done a lot of tests actually long back on these angle sections, and so many angle sections was there, and the shear lag and other things was done, and this formula has been established empirically only. So this formula, whichever you see in the IS code, say that is from our structures lab only, from our PhD students. So now, so this formula you see, so for angle section, one leg connected, another leg not connected. So this is a formula. So this 0.9 into AN into FC by gamma M1 is that classical area. So here what they do is, instead of using one areas, we use the two area. One is the net area of the connected leg. So the connected leg, what is the area? Then the gross area of the outstanding leg. Outstanding leg means, the leg which has not been connected to, the gusset plate itself. So 2, and then we have this beta, that is some kind of a factor here. So this depends on, you see, W by T, all these width, F by FU, BS by LC, the connection length and width of the shear lag and others. So this value has to be estimated from this formula. So this formula is anyway empirical only. There is no follow, right? Empirical formula, but has been, all of you should know that, you see, this formula in the IS codes has come from our structures lab. So one Professor Kalyan Ram, he is now retired. So he's a PhD student. So they did these experiments in our lab, and then this formula came in the IS code. For only for angle sections, one leg is connected, another leg is not connected. Okay. So finally, so now designs so for yielding of cross sections. So this is the formula. All of you know how this formula. Why do we use Fy also? Okay, because of limit state of serviceability. Then this is the rupture. So this 0.9 times An into Fu by gamma 1. So this has to be used to find out the tearing. And the net area calculation is the challenge. So if it is a staggered for the bolts, then you have to do a lot of patterns you have to study, and then you should estimate this one. And if it is a angle section, and if it is connected to both the legs are connected, say I already showed you. So fold it into a plate and then you do it itself. And the 0.9 comes because of that factor of safety, one more, because Fu is the one, but 0.9 times, we use one more, a reduction factor, because there is no reserve strength beyond this ultimate strength also. And then Fu we use, not Fy. So this also you should, the most important. And then if it is angle section, okay, one leg connected, another leg not connected. So this is the formula, so which has come from our structures lab only. Okay, so this formula has to be used itself. So in this formula, so the most important thing is the shear lag width basically. So shear lag width means, the portion which has not been connected to the leg itself. So if it is a bolted connection, say, so now the unconnected leg is, W. So this is the, the unconnected leg. This leg is connected. So this leg is connected, and this width of this leg itself. Now the shear lag width, say, that is a BS. Okay, so which you have to calculate is W, that is unconnected leg length. So this plus this itself up to this much. So this is what they call as shear lag width. And of course you subtract the thickness to avoid 2 times or whatever. So W plus G minus T. So this is the shear lag width. Suppose if it is a welded connection, say, so because you have done welding this side also as well as this side also, so shear lag width will be simply the W itself. That is unconnected, the length of your angle section itself is your shear lag width itself. And length LC is the length of the end connection. So that is the distance between the outermost bolts measured along the direction, or length of the weld along the load direction. So this formula has to be used when you are working with angle sections where one leg is connected, another leg is not connected, say. So this formula has to be used. Suppose both the legs are connected, say, you have to use which formula? Now this side also connected, this side also connected. Now what is the formula? How do you calculate? You will use this formula or the previous one? See, if both the legs are connected, now which one you have to use, this or this?
This one.
Now this one you have to use, because both the legs are connected means shear lag, air lag, no need to worry. Simply fold it into a plate and then you solve the problem. But if you have not, one leg is not connected, one leg this one, so then you have to use this formula. The code clearly mentions, and this formula from IIT Madras. Okay, from our lab essentially. Another thing, last thing which you have to check in tension member is block shear. Already we discussed in our bolted connections or even welding also the same problem is this one. So block shear means, you know, it is just a combination of tension and shear. As already I told you, right, one plane will be, there are two planes only, tension plane, shear plane. One will be weak, one will be strong. So on the weak plane, what happens? How the collapse will be. So there are two planes only. One is a weak and another one is a strong. So you will have two types of failures. One is from yielding, other is from rupture. Yeah. Now what happens for a weak plane? How it will fail, and how strong plane will fail.
Yielding happen at weak plane and rupture happens at strong plane.
Excellent. Okay, so this is how, you know, the things are there. So why it happens is, for the weak plane first starts yielding. So once it starts yielding, so then stresses gets redistributed. So then the strong plane starts taking a stress, and then finally, because it is so strong, right? So it ruptures, and yielding, by the time a strong plane has ruptured, other plane has already yielded itself. So so there are two possibilities are there. One is rupture happens along tension and yield happens along shear. So that means, you know, tension plane is very strong, shear plane is weak plane. Other case also you have to see the net shear planes rupture. That means shear plane is strong, whereas the tension plane is weak kind of a thing. So two formulas you would have seen, right? Two formulas you will take and you have to use it. But the only thing in block shear you have to do, of course, in bolted connection we didn't discuss. I just mentioned you. The thing is there here also you can have multiple paths. These also headache actually. So like for example, if we see these connections, so this is one shear path. So this whole thing you see it just comes out, or it can fail like this also. So this entire this whole portion say this portion itself can come. So this is another path itself, or it can come like this also. You followed. So these are the several failure paths can happen in block shear also. So here also you have to visualize actually, okay, which shear path, you know. So you have to visualize all the paths, and then you should calculate for all the paths, and whichever is the lowest, say that is your design strength, okay, of your tension member or that connection itself. So as already I told you, it is very straightforward. There are only in block shear you have to find out two areas, okay. So that is, you know, a tension area. Then you should be able to identify which is a tensile plane, which is a shear plane. It is straightforward. So you can see this is a tension, this is a shear, okay. This side two shear planes are there, one tension plane. Now here how many planes are there in part shear 2? How many tension plane, how many shear planes?
One tension plane and one shear plane.
Excellent. So this is one tension, one shear. Here, this first case,
two shear, one tension.
Two shear, one tension. Now third case,
one shear, one tension.
One shear, one tension. So you should be able to identify. And gross area is very easy to calculate, but net area you have to subtract these holes also. Okay, I showed you last time. We will also once again. So this is how. Please tell me.
In the previous image, in the third image, it's an L section, right?
Yes, sir.
So there will be tension in the into the plane part of the section, into the plane leg also, right?
No, which one is a connection? You can see, right? And tell me.
Yes, sir. In the ruptured plane, there will be one more tension plane on the other leg.
No, this leg you are mentioning. This one you are saying, yeah?
Yes, sir.
This section. No, that if it is not connected, say then. See, suppose if it is not connected, say.
So we are ignoring it if it is not connected.
No. What I'm trying to say is, if it is connected, you have to. It will be something. If it is not connected, so then you can ignore. But if it is connected, you have to calculate that also. So as I think what you are saying, suppose if it is like this, both the legs are connected, right? Then you have to include both the things.
Okay.
So that is this is only 2D graph I'm showing you, just but you have to consider all possible cases. So the most important thing what you should understand is block shear means not one failure. Here also you will be having several paths. So all you have to visualize and then you have to calculate. So it depends on the problem. So like here also, there are several sections are there. Okay, so how it fell is, I think, angle section. So only this leg is not connected here. So this portion, this leg is not connected. Only bolts are here only. One leg only is connected. So then you have to here also there may be several failure paths. Tension plane, then shear plane. So these are the equations. So Fy by root 3 means what type of plane it is? Wherever you see root 3.
Shear plane.
Just remember, don't reverse. So root 3 means automatically in your mind von Mises thing should come. It is a shear plane. So this is a so this formula 0.9 whenever you see say Fu, and please remember whenever you see Fu, what type of failure it is? Rupture or yielding? Rupture. So Fu is related to rupture, Fy is related to yielding. Okay, so here this is essentially shear yielding, you can say, and this is tension fracture. Similarly, this one is a shear rupture, tensile, the yielding itself. Just by looking at the terms itself, you can easily identify. Okay, this is a very easy thing. So now you can we will find out. I think now the time is over. We'll continue next class. So you can see how do we calculate, right, the block shears, how to calculate for one plate and another areas itself. So we will see in our next class. So anyways, I will stop here. We will continue now next class. And one more thing is, the quiz date has been finalized, right?
17th.
That is, I think, day after tomorrow only.